amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties above the fruited plain. America, God shed His grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Oh, beautiful, for He rose through in liberating strife, who more than self their country loved, and mercy more than life. America, may God thy gold refine, till all success be nobleness, in every gain divine, till all success be nobleness, in every gain divine. America,
Good evening. I'm Julia Wright, the Executive Director of the American Red Cross of Southeast Tennessee. I, along with our amazing board and volunteers, would like to thank you for joining us this evening. It is my honor to welcome you to the 13th Annual Heroes event. This event is about honoring those in our community who have shown extraordinary courage in the face of adversity. Over the next few minutes, we hope to bring you inspiration, hope, and laughter. I would like to take this opportunity to thank our sponsors. Without them, today would not be possible. Now, let's turn it over to Chattanooga's most loved TV news anchor and this year's MC, Cindy Sexton.
Thank you, Julia. I'm happy to be here with you today. Every day, near and far, the American Red Cross works to help those impacted by crisis. Whether you're a volunteer, a donor, or an everyday person, you are making a difference.
Good evening. My name is Stephen Warwick, and I'm the Board Philanthropy Chair for the American Red Cross of Southeastern Tennessee. On behalf of our Board of Directors and our Philanthropy Committee, I want to thank you for joining us this evening as we celebrate our outstanding heroes for 2020. The American Red Cross needs no introduction. We've been serving our citizens for 140 years. And every day, down the street, across the country, and all over the world, our staff and volunteers work around the clock to support our communities and our neighbors when they need it most. We saw firsthand how our community and volunteers banded together following the Easter tornadoes which devastated our area. With your help, we were able to assist families with lodging, food, supplies, and comfort following these devastating storms. This was all possible because of support from people like you. Please remember, after disaster strikes, or when a patient needs life-saving blood, when a military family is in need of assistance, or when people want to learn the life-saving skills needed to protect themselves and their family, the Red Cross is always there. Now it's your turn to support your neighbors. Will you be there for your community and your Red Cross? If you can, please consider supporting us this evening. You can make a quick $20 donation by texting GIVE20 to 76278, or you can visit realheroes.givesmart.com to donate an amount of your choosing. Thank you again for spending your time with us this evening, and please enjoy the rest of our program.
Hello, all you hunker-downers. We're going to hunker down here for a bit to hear all about our local heroes. I just love the people of Southeast Tennessee.
Thank you, Leslie. We are so grateful to have you join us in this great cause, and we look forward to hearing more from you later in the program. For the 13th year, we come together to honor the extraordinary heroes who make a meaningful impact in our community. These people don't stand by, they take action, and we can't thank them enough. Our celebration of these heroes looks a little different this year, but our gratitude for their giving spirit and selfless acts has not changed. Tonight's first recognition goes to a group of individuals whose work to prepare our community and help keep it safe is an ongoing endeavor. Preparing our community to deal with the COVID-19 pandemic has been a monumental task. For nearly a year, Hamilton County Emergency Management and emergency preparedness leaders from the area's 3 largest health systems have worked tirelessly with individual organizations and our community to get through this unprecedented event. Add devastating severe weather to the mix, and the list of challenges to overcome grows. Well, this year we recognize 4 individuals for their leadership and collaborative efforts as they continue their work to ensure our community is ready for any emergency.
We first started planning for coronavirus in February the 20th of this year, and that was after we'd had 18 inches of rain and a lot of flooding, landslides, so 2020 came in with a bang for emergency management. We had the tornadoes come right in the middle of the pandemic where we were trying to get our feet under us from the pandemic, and here came the tornado. So we worked that night 40 hours straight, and it's very humbling to be receiving this. And I'm not the main player. It's our team and the team that Hampton County has in place, and that's the cities and the counties. They all come together. There's no borders. There was no egos. There was no bias anywhere. We just went out to help people. I mean, Hampton County and the first responders that went out for all the COVID that go every day, the doctors and nurses, the EMTs, first responders, firefighters, law enforcement, all those people are laying their lives on the line every day to make a difference in COVID.
It was all hands on deck. We worked with our physician partners. We worked with obviously our associates to make sure that all of our PPE was in place, that we had all of our tents in place from a hospital perspective, and to make sure that we could take care of all of our COVID patients in one space and try to isolate those patients and continue to run normal operations, although limited, within the hospital, so we could take care of the entire community. We worked within the community with our other hospital partners. In a time of a pandemic, it doesn't matter what hospital you work for. We're all one in a time like this, so it doesn't matter if you're clinical or non-clinical. We're all working together for the benefit of the community and all pulling our resources and working as a team. And that's exactly what we did.
Very early on, the emergency preparedness community with the healthcare systems began talking about what our preparations could, would, and should be. So we started that process. It was a call to action not only to myself, but everybody in our market. This is absolutely a collaborative effort and a coordinated effort to make sure that we can provide the best health care for the community. So these preparations began well in advance of our actual surge as it arrived, and it's ongoing today. We still have ebbs and tides in the amount of surge we're seeing in our hospital setting, and the collaboration between the healthcare systems and with our staff here and our colleagues here has been remarkable. The community, just as much as our healthcare systems, want to see a positive resolution to this if one's possible, and it is. And we've moved that way, and you can see how the collaboration of all these different entities, the community, our healthcare systems, has really made a positive impact on what could have been a much worse situation.
So when we started preparing for COVID, it was really a disaster preparedness response. When anything disaster related occurs, it's a team effort. So there's a tremendous amount of physicians and ancillary staff, nursing, supply chain, et cetera. So we started preparing for what potentially may be COVID really back in November, and started having tabletop exercises. And then obviously when this hit, it became an all hands on deck, activating the command center, good, strong physician leadership, and it really was a team effort from the beginning for us. I've been in emergency services for almost 30 years, and it was an extremely proud moment for me being a citizen of Hamilton County to see all the healthcare systems come together and have a unified voice, working together to prevent this as much as we could, and work together to take care of as many of our patients in the local area as well as the region that we could. It took hundreds of people at each health system to make this possible. These nurses, respiratory therapists, physicians, every single day are taking care of these very sick people. And without everyone coming together collectively, we would not have been able to do this.
Good times, bad times, and everything in between. Your primary care doctor is with you all the way.
Chattanooga Fire Department Lieutenant Greg Smith is well respected within the department for his leadership, work ethic, honesty, and compassion. Whether he's serving the community by leading a search and rescue effort after a devastating tornado or serving as a peer supporter for other firefighters, the fire department leadership says Smith always puts his very best forward to help anyone who may need it.
I think for me personally, it's like I want to embrace the leadership role, because I know just having 20 years of experience, I know how important it is to teach the new guys coming up, and I would just like to be a positive role model, show them the right way, not just the job, but just as a person, how to act, how to present yourself, and I just I like that role to be a mentor essentially. It's hard to classify yourself as a hero. I just, I want to conduct my life and I serve Christ. I want to be Christ-like, and I just want to be, that person that people can count on and trust in a world where it's needed. Where we all need help. We all need to turn to somebody. And to have those people in your life that you can turn to is really important.
New York Pizza Department owner Eric Silen jumped into action when schools closed their doors in March because of the pandemic. He knew some students depend on school being open in order to get food, so he decided to offer free meals to anyone in need through his restaurant. Then, a few weeks later, a devastating tornado tore through several neighborhoods, and Eric was once again offering to feed those in need. What he thought would be a 2-week mission is still going strong.
And then the first news story broke, and people started coming in the next 2 days and donating and donating and donating. And I just started ordering more and more food that I could use as non-perishable items. I gave away pizza to whoever wanted pizza that came in, but along with the pizza, I was giving away bag goods of meals for the week. It's become a blessing to meet all these people that have come in. There's a lot of heartache and a lot of sad stories about it, but the smiles that they come in when they get to eat and they bring their kids in. And it started off as just kids, but it's not just kids anymore, it's the adults too. If they can't feed their children, they ain't feeding themselves. So it's like, whatever I can do to help, I'm gonna help. It's not just me, it's the community. I mean, this wasn't a one-person operation. My staff has been incredible. They stuck through everything. You know, it got pretty hectic here for a while, and not one complaint came out of them, and they just helped and helped and helped. And the community support that came in, I mean, I was maybe a vessel to help make it happen, but everybody else doing all the work as well. I mean, I had so many volunteers that came in and helped me as well. It's been such a humbling experience. I mean, since March, I thought it was gonna be like a 2-week thing, and here we are 5 months later, or 6 months later, still doing it. And we've fed over 20,000 families so far. And that was free of charge, all because of the community.
What other car gives you this kind of quality at this kind of price? And the VW is built to take a little punishment.
Oh my goodness, these folks are so incredible. My mother always tried to teach me to do the right thing. Well, stick around and I'll tell you how that went.
Paul Bobenhausen knew something wasn't right after returning from a second deployment to the Middle East with the Army Reserves. He later learned he had post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD. He sought help through the VA, but says his real breakthrough came when he attended a reboot recovery course designed to help veterans and first responders overcome trauma. He says he learned so much that he decided to take the class a second time. And that's when a fellow participant encouraged him to start leading a reboot recovery course. Since January of 2018, Paul has helped lead 8 12-week sessions. As a career EMS employee and nearly 2 decades serving in the Army Reserves, Paul has a deep understanding as both a first responder and veteran of what the participants are experiencing.
PTSD has always been related to the military, and is not. PTSD can come from anything from traumatic death of a child, seeing an incident, if you're driving down the road, seeing a bad car accident, you know, or even divorce causes PTSD. Really heavily as a first responder, there's a lot of first responders that experience it. I've learned a lot more about my fellow co-workers that have been having problems that I didn't have any clue about until I brought the subject up and started talking about it. You know, and every time we have a class, there's always somebody that has a miraculous change, and it just inspires us to do the next one. Yeah, I guess it's heroic, but I don't feel like I'm a hero. I'm just the person in the place to perform the role of leading the class. I'm just a peer that's been through the experience and willing to step out and help others that have gone through the same experiences that I have.
In July of 2019, then 3-year-old Easton Lewis was home with his mom Jennifer and infant brother while his dad Cody was at work. Not long after Jennifer texted Cody saying she wasn't feeling well, Cody's phone rang. That phone call helped save Jennifer's life and is the reason Easton is an American Red Cross youth hero.
I got a phone call from my wife's number, from Jennifer's number, and it was weird because she knows I'm not supposed to talk on the phone at work. And it was Easton, and he was hysterical. I could hear Maverick screaming in the background, and all Easton said was, "Daddy, Mommy fell down and hit her head and she won't get back up."
Because I saw the green button, so I tapped on that, then I saw Daddy's fire stuff, so then I tapped on that, and then I said, "Daddy, come home."
So I hung up the phone with Easton and immediately called 911 from downtown Chattanooga. And about 3 seconds later, my mom called, and Easton had called her as well. I met Jennifer at the hospital. When we got there, she kind of went from bad to worse. After several tests, they ended up determining it was her appendix. It hadn't ruptured, but it had slowly been leaking into her body. And all that infection just kind of built up over time and eventually got to the point where her body shut down. God was really working in the situation because Easton did something that he shouldn't have been able to know how to do. But at the time, we didn't know that he even knew how to unlock a phone. And somehow he found a way to unlock her cell phone, knew the passcode, and Jennifer had a little picture of a fireman in a fire truck next to my name. And that's how he knew, that's Dada. And he hit the button and just sat there until someone got on the phone.
So do you think that your mom thinks you're a hero because you helped get her the medical help she needs? Yeah, does she tell you that?
Thanks to him, Jennifer got the help she needed, and we're all here today to tell this story.
Our world is changing.
We're facing new challenges daily.
And every day,
We find heroes among us.
To every essential worker across our valley,
we say thank you.
We have your back.
We are hard at work to keep the power flowing.
To keep our mission of service alive.
Together with your local power providers, we're committed to the safety,
comfort, and convenience
of the 10 million customers that we serve.
And we're all in this together.
We have one final hero to share with you. Please welcome Larry Zender, a board member for the American Red Cross Southeast Tennessee chapter, as he presents the Humanitarian Hero Award.
Good evening. It is my distinct honor, on behalf of the Southeast Tennessee chapter of the American Red Cross, to present the recipient of the 2020 Red Cross Heroes Humanitarian Award. We would like to recognize William B. Raines for his significant accomplishments during these many years. In 1968, General Raines was commissioned a second lieutenant at the United States Military Academy, West Point, where he received a bachelor's degree in engineering. He also graduated in the Airborne School and the Army War College. During his 32 years of military service, he served in many important positions on active duty, including those in Okinawa, Vietnam, and Fort Bliss, Texas. After leaving active duty, General Raines had numerous assignments within the 3397th U.S. Army Reserve Garrison in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and the 125th Army Reserve Command in Nashville, Tennessee. During this time, he served as the deployment at Fort Campbell for Operations Desert Shield Storm. In addition to his military leadership and service, Bill has contributed to numerous organizations in our community. Bill's lifelong service led to his most recent project in developing our community's Charles H. Coolidge Medal of Honor Heritage Museum, where he currently serves as the board chairman. The Charles H. Coolidge National Medal of Honor Heritage Center memorializes the history of the nation's highest military award for valor, from the first medals in 1863 to the present. The center also educates the next generation of Americans about the 6 character traits associated with the gallantry of the medal recipients. patriotism, citizenship, courage, integrity, sacrifice, and commitment. Bill resides here in Chattanooga, Tennessee, with his wife, Jerry. He has 5 adult children, Jeannie, John, Philip, Richard, Howard, and Will. We recognize and congratulate Bill for his many contributions as the 2020 American Red Cross of Southeast Tennessee Humanitarian of the Year.
Did I break it out?
Yes, sir, you sure did. I got it.
And there's some water if you need.
Needs is 8 cup tea.
Can I got sugar. I get so wound up. Hey everybody, it's Leslie Jordan. Welcome to this wonderful, wonderful evening, a virtual evening. They've done this dinner many times in the past, and I've heard it was the best dinner in town and lots of fun. But because of the circumstances, it's going to be virtual tonight. And you know, I am Chattanooga born and bred. My daddy lived in Chattanooga all his life. He lost his life in service to our country. He was flying just a simple flight from Chattanooga, Tennessee to Camp Shelby, right outside of Hattiesburg, Mississippi. I was about 11 years old when that happened. But you know, before that, I had the most amazing childhood here in Chattanooga. My parents, Mama was 19 when I was born. Daddy was 21. All we did, I remember we never stayed home. You know, Mother'd be putting on that lipstick. You kids get in the back, get in the car. And off we'd go to Kay's Castle. Y'all remember Kay's Castle on Brainerd Road? Or we'd go up to Highway 58 to Oscar's, which is no longer there, and get us a hamburger or a chili dog. We spent summers on Lake Chickamauga. Daddy had a boat. He had a wooden Chris Craft boat. I wished I knew what happened to that boat because it'd be worth a fortune now. It was the most beautiful boat. And we would water ski and go all over Lake Chickamauga. In fact, my daddy met my mother. He had that boat then. Mother was lying, you know, that little part of the lake where you can lay out there. Mother was laying out on a towel with some of her girlfriends. This boat pulled up, and there was this real cute boy. And Mama looked over, and she said to her girlfriend, "That's the boy I'm going to marry." And he, my daddy, said to his friend, he said, "See that pretty blonde girl lying up there? That's the girl I'm going to marry." And then he got off, and he went up to Mother. My dad was such a jokester. He got up to Mother and introduced himself, and they started talking. He said, "You're just a real girly girl, aren't you?" She said, "Well, yeah, I guess so." He said, "You probably sleep under, what?" She said, a canopy. He said, "Oh, no, that's under the bed." Canopy. Anyway, that was Daddy's. He loved telling stories and jokes, and they were always a tiny bit questionable. But I grew up in Central Baptist Church. Everything we did, you know, everything we did surrounded around the church. We were there Sundays, and then Wednesday night visitation, and then choir practice, and this and that. I was also in the Chattanooga Boys Choir. I auditioned for that, and that was something. We went all over the country. We even sang, it would have been Expo 67. It was the World's Fair in Montreal. And we sang at the Charles de Gaulle Pavilion. We went all over the place. So a lot of memories from growing up in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And people ask me all the time, you know, I think people don't even know who we are. Like I'll say, "Oh, I'm from Chattanooga." They go, I'd love to go there. People all over, I'd love to go there. I've seen pictures. Because, you know, we've got all that mountains surrounding, and there we are with Lookout and Signal and Missionary Ridge, which is where I lived part of my, in high school. We moved up there. But anyway, it's just a wonderful place to grow up. And Chattanooga, Tennessee, check it out. My mother was so accepting of me. She just wanted me to be happy. It didn't matter, you know, what I did. She knew I was gifted. She said she knew I was gifted when I was 2 or 3 years old. And I am. I mean, without being conceited, I'm gifted in areas. You know, we all are. We're all gifted. But my mother believed in it so fervently that I remember when I got in first grade, I found out I'm not that special, you know. Well, I'm special, you know. All the other kids, no. I had to find out, but my daddy also. I came out of Sunday school one time, and Daddy said, I told my daddy, he said, I stomped my foot and said, I'm never going back. I'm never going back to Sunday school again. And my daddy said, oh, what are you talking about? You love Sunday school. You love Miss Townsend, your teacher, and all the Bible stories and games. I said, Daddy, they laugh at me. And he got down and began to explain to me the difference between laughing at me and laughing with me. And he said, Leslie, you have a gift. And it's the ability to make people laugh. What a gift. And it's God-given, and you need to cherish it. And you should always tell me the story about hiding your light under a bushel. He said you've got to always let your light shine. So, of course, I've heard about the Red Cross my whole life, as have you. All that they did during the Chattanooga recently when we had the awful storms, and everything else that they've done over the years. And I have never personally had to have the Red Cross come around, thank goodness. But I know they're there. You know, I found out when I first moved to California many years ago, I decided that I wanted to be an actor. And I went to the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga, and I got a degree. And I was so thrilled. And they sat me down right before I left UTC, and Dr. Fred Barringer, who was head of the drama department back then, said, Mr. Jordan, before you go to Hollywood, please learn how to pronounce what your degree is in. Because I was saying theater. I got a degree in theater. They said, it's theater. I said, no, not where I come from. It's theater. So anyway, I got on a bus with $1,200 that my mother pinned into my underpants, a Greyhound bus station right near here. Got on the bus. I had $1,200. I had my degree in theater. I had a tiny suitcase and a dream. And things worked out for me really, really well in California. But very quickly, I landed in an area of Los Angeles called West Hollywood, and it was a city in crises. The AIDS epidemic by '82 was, you have no idea. I mean, if you went to visit somebody in the hospital, you wore a hazmat suit. We didn't know where it came from. We didn't know, what was up, and it was just so frightening. And I have read that over 90% of people that do the work for the Red Cross are volunteers. And that really came home to me because we had to volunteer, all of us. It wasn't even asked, will you do this? We had to. And so we all jumped in. My first volunteer job was with an organization called Project Nightlight that would deliver meals to homebound AIDS patients. And so they would give us a list of 4 addresses, and then we had 4 meals. And my area they gave me was La Crescenta. Well, I'd never even heard of that. I said, I don't know where that is. They said, well, Mr. Jordan, there's a map attached. I said, that's not helpful. But anyway, I would drive all the way out to La Crescenta. The first boy that I took my meal to, bless his heart, he hadn't seen a human being in about a week. He had a caseworker that would check on him. But just talking, and I'm a big talker. I don't know if you know that, but I love to talk. And I'd sit there at his bedside, and we talked and talked and talked. I even had to change his diaper, which was not part of my volunteer duties, but it was something just had to be done. And then I moved on to my next homebound patient, but it was hours later, and their food was cold. And so this went on for a couple of weeks, and finally at Project Angel Food, they sent me down. They said, Mr. Jordan, we're going to have to fire you. I said, you can't fire me. I'm a volunteer. They said, well, people are getting their food cold. They said, we have an organization that we think will be right up your alley. And that's how I began to work for Project Nightlight, which was my second big volunteer job. There was this wonderful lady named Cassandra Christensen, and she was a nurse who had dedicated her whole life to people that were dying of cancer. They called them then like a hospice nurse, but they changed it a little bit to she was a transition nurse when people were about to make a transition. That just sounded better than hospice. And she, believe this or not, was walking through Miami Airport one day and bumped into Mother Teresa, the nun who's no bigger than me. She's no bigger than a wore-out bar of soap. Little tiny the Mother Teresa, who had dedicated her life to taking care of the lepers in India. Well, Cassandra Christian said, Mother Teresa, you don't know what a groupie is. Rock stars have groupies, but I'm a groupie. I've just watched, I've read Mrs. Kubler-Ross on Death and Dying, and I've dedicated my life. Well, Mother Teresa calmed her down and just looked right at her and said, have you heard of AIDS? Well, this was 1982 when it was not very well. Cassandra said, yes, I have heard of AIDS, but my thrust is cancer. Well, Mother Teresa gave her this calling. Said, we're going to need a lot of work in that area. So she started this Project Nightlight, and I was one of the grassroots members. And we didn't have a lot of training. We just wanted to be of service, and so we found out that there were so many people dying alone because of the stigma attached to the disease. So what we would do is we would find people that didn't have, family or this and that, and we would go and we would sit with them. And I'm going to wind it up with this story. I had this client that I'd go sit with every day, and he was not in good shape. He was home, he was bedridden, he was completely incontinent and this and that. But he'd read the paper every day. He called me over one day and he said, Leslie, I want to go see Patti LaBelle. She's in concert and I want to go see her. And I thought, well, Lord. But I thought maybe it could be done. So I called Cassandra. We were able to get a limousine company to donate a limousine where we could get him into the limousine with his wheelchair. I called up Cheryl Lee Ralph, who was putting together this evening with Patti LaBelle. And I said, I need some tickets. And she said, absolutely. And she said, we have an area for wheelchair-bound people. So a couple of days before the concert, he didn't die, but he went into a coma-like state. And I still plan to take him. I said, I'll prop him up if I have to. And if he dies there, well, what a better way to go. Patti LaBelle sing him right up to heaven. So then his family showed up. And they didn't trust me. They didn't know what I was up to. And I finally told her, I said, listen, I want to take him to this concert. She said, that's the craziest thing I've ever heard in my life. No, you may not. I said, okay, all right. Well, but I went. Oh, Patti LaBelle, this and that, sang. Well, when the concert was over, I went back and I knocked on the door. And the mother answered, looked at me like, you again. And I said, may I talk to your son? She said, well, and they were just in the other room. I thought, you know what, anyway, you should be with him. He knows anyway. So I went in and I told him all about it. I said, oh, you wouldn't believe. Patti LaBelle sang this song and everybody, and a tear ran down his eyes. And I remember thinking at the time that was why I did what I did. That's why we volunteer for moments like that. So I think that it was at that moment that I realized, wow, this is why I and others do what we do. This is why we volunteer for moments like this. And I know that the Red Cross really depends upon their volunteers. So please volunteer. But more importantly, also, you got to donate. The Red Cross, it's a really hard time right now. A lot of people, because of everything that's going on, are not donating. But you should, to help the Red Cross, because it's a wonderful, wonderful organization, and I'm so proud to be a part of this evening. So I'm Leslie Jordan telling y'all good night or bye-bye.
Thank you, Leslie. Hello, I am Robert Gould, Chairman of the Board of Directors for Southeast Tennessee Red Cross. On behalf of the Board of Directors, I want to thank the Philanthropy Committee who have worked hard to put this year's event together. I would also like to thank my fellow board members for their support. Every 8 minutes, someone affected by a disaster is helped by donations to the American Red Cross. Your donation to the Red Cross can make all the difference to a person or family dealing with the aftermath of a disaster. Disasters can happen anytime, anywhere, to anyone. It is our commitment to deliver help to anyone who needs it. Tonight, we are asking you to be a Red Cross hero. Please consider donating to help those in need at realheroes.givesmart.com or by texting GIVE20 to 76278.
On behalf of the American Red Cross of Southeast Tennessee, I want to thank you for joining us tonight as we honored the 2020 American Red Cross heroes. We're grateful for your financial support, which will help our local American Red Cross chapter respond and support our fellow citizens and neighbors when a crisis strikes.
You want me to tap dance? Sure. I don't know how to tap dance.
Okay.
Sing a pretty song.